Welcome to the Old Fart Geeks podcast. This week on our 6th episode, we discuss a bunch of old retro tech stuff. I'm Jason Oakley, and this is my co-host, Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Hey, mate. 6? Really? Wow.
6. Can you count that high?
Not on one hand, no.
Only if you take your shorts off.
7, 8, 9. Yeah.
I'm used to teaching my daughter that you got 11 fingers on your hand because you got 10,
yeah.
9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. It's 11.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Dad, I still remember that. Dad taught me that when I was like 6, and I still remember that one.
How you been over the last week? You buy any $35,000 Commodore 65s?
Oh, what was that about?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if I had that money, I wouldn't be buying a Commodore 65.
I think I stopped the bidding when Census when I ran out of money.
Not too shabby though. I never saw much about those ones, but I had a Commodore 64. Sometimes I wish I did. I think I'm gonna have to get a Raspberry Pi 2 and just install all the emulatory stuff on there. Get a USB joystick and pew 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 my heart away.
Sitting in my shopping cart. I just can't quite commit.
You gotta hit buy. Do it.
So, well, I've still got the other Raspberry Pi, so I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with that if I do get the new one.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody wants the new, faster one.
Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to do with the other one. I mean, it's probably alright for a MAME, I guess.
One for retro games and the other one for your media center.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because the other one's getting a bit slow for the media center now, so I might make it for the MAME emulator and then run,
Yeah, you saw that guy who used the Raspberry Pi to make a mini Macintosh.
Mini Mac Classic, that was great. The problem is the small screen probably costs more than the rest of it.
That's ridiculous.
Was it 3-inch screen or whatever it was probably $150 by itself.
Yeah. LCD and the power to run it all.
Well, you could actually just put a little 10 amp battery in that. It would have fit in there.
Is that enough to run the screen? Not very long.
Oh, a couple of hours.
A couple of hours, that's all you need.
Yeah.
People making mini Nintendos and stuff all over the place, jamming them into old controllers and things.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's, they didn't use a lot of power because there wasn't anything to them.
Yeah.
It wasn't till the advent of things that had spinning discs that things started to use power.
And your graphic cards.
Yeah. Like a tape deck Walkman used to last, 20 hours or something on a set of batteries.
Yeah.
CD Walkman used to last maybe a disc.
Imagine how much Cyndi Lauper you could listen to on them.
Oh, at least an album.
Yep. Through all the trouble at the start when they had all the CDs and people would go jogging with their portable CD and it'd skip.
And then they had this massive breakthrough where they went, hey, let's pre-buffer it for 10 seconds because you're never going to bounce it around for more than that.
Wrong.
Because then they did that in the car ones.
Yep.
Because the early car players didn't have buffering either. And then Kenwood, there was either Kenwood or Pioneer was the first one to bring out a non-skip head deck.
Yeah.
For marine applications, because obviously
it's kind of what you need, right?
Yeah, and that kind of took on. But the thing was, you'd put the disc in, you'd hit play, and you'd sit there and you'd wait for 45 seconds.
Then you could listen
for it to buffer. Yeah,
it's like that thing you were watching on YouTube before, where the kids are introduced to old technology. They give them a boombox.
Yeah.
What do I do with this? Here's a tape. You put that in.
How do you open
the damn thing to put a tape? You press, what are these buttons? Holy crap, it just opened. Look at that.
I know, it's hilarious. It's like, and the old,
Pac-Mans and stuff.
Yeah. But it's funny when she's walking around with a Walkman and stuff, their PS3, MP3 player.
Yeah.
And she's like, it doesn't make any noise.
I'm pressing buttons. Oh, here's a cassette. But how the hell do you open it?
How do I get in? It's so true,
though.
Oh,
look, I pressed the button and it opened. Now what? Put that in. Hey! Guess what happens when it gets to the end? You can't hit the repeat button. You have to take it out, spin it around, put it back in.
The later ones, they would swap sides.
Yeah, automatically. Yeah. You couldn't skip back to your first song or hit repeat on it, though.
No.
And here's
Although I
a
actually
Commodore Plus 4.
Yeah. I forgot they had the arrow keys on those actually, like that, like an actual arrow.
Oh, yep. Put the cassette in, and you can play a game in 20 minutes. Yay!
That's it. Or you could actually, I'm pretty sure you could actually, was there a way to play an actual music cassette on that? I think there was.
Possibly.
I think.
Then she types in www up the top of the screen. What's happening? There is no www. It's a plus
There's
4.
no internet. And then these guys are playing their
Xbox. We used to play that in the lounge room, me and my daughter.
That was the first game they released for it, wasn't it? With the PlayStation.
Yeah, one of the first. Hey, look, you use joysticks? You can't jump around in front of an Atari 2600. Well, you can. It won't do anything.
They're like, how do you play two-player? It's like, I think it's just me. So, he's like, you can't even figure out how to play Pac-Man. He's like, this is really hard. What do you do with this?
Up, down, left, right, press buttons.
But it's so true, though. Like, it's...
See the slog we had to put up with, kids, and you think you got it hard these days.
I know, right?
Our cassettes would melt in the sun. Your MP3s don't do that.
Never left them on the parcel shelf, I tell you.
You don't rewind an MP3 with a pencil.
When it chews it.
Yes.
You don't get your MP3 chewed.
No.
But yeah, I actually had towards the end of it, I had a really high-end, I think it was Kenwood.
Yep.
Tape deck. Had the high-speed dubbing, which let you copy tape.
Yeah, that was nice.
But it had a auto flip, so that when it got to the end, it would start playing the other side, and it actually had a buffer counter, and it actually, when it picked up no noise, like between the tracks, it actually started a counter, and then it played that counter until the time it picked up no noise again. So you could actually hit, I think it was revert or something was the key, and it would actually rewind it back to the start of that counter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you could actually go back in one track blocks. You could actually rewind
it. Repeat.
It was an expensive head.
It took time, but you could repeat.
Oh, yeah. Ultra had super fast rewind.
Yep.
And I still to this day don't know how it worked. It must have used an optic sensor or something on the tape, because when you hit rewind, didn't matter where that tape was, it could be a tape you've just put in, it'd rewind back at full speed, like 5 times the rewind speed of a normal tape deck.
Yep.
And then once it got right down to the last couple of meters of tape, it would slow right down. So
you wouldn't rip the tape out of the
yeah, basically. So somehow it knew how much tape was on. It must have been done by maybe the dummy wheel or something when it got to a certain speed. But yeah, that thing was insane. Like it would have rewind a 90-minute tape in, I don't know, 15 seconds.
Nice.
And then as it got to the end, it'd just fade off and slow the speed down.
I remember getting my first CD was the soundtrack from Robin Williams' movie Toys. And I was like, I'm never going to buy a CD player because they're extremely expensive. I'll just play this on friends' things. You know, a few years later, you got like half a dozen devices around the house with computer, laptop, radio. Everything can play CDs now.
I have nothing in this house that plays spinning media.
Not anymore, me. I've got the MacBook Pro because it's built in, and I'm not throwing that out at this stage. Oh, and I still got old clock radio in the bedroom that plays CDs.
I've got...
Then my Xbox. Hang on, I've got so many things.
You do? I don't have... I've got... Well, I technically own the PS2, but it's sitting in a box somewhere.
Yep.
And my computer has a burner in it, but it's not hooked up. It's never been hooked up. It's just there in case... But it's got a LightScribe burner in it back when LightScribe was a thing.
When you got a NAS, you don't really need a CD anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. And I actually ordered a Blu-ray player.
Yep.
I thought, well, I'm going to buy one. They're cheap. They're $80. I'll get a Blu-ray player. Got it, bought it home, plugged it in.
Never used
Wouldn't play anything. Took it back. It like literally wouldn't play anything. You put a Blu-ray or a DVD or anything, and even a MP3s on a memory stick in the front of it.
Yep.
And it'd go, oh, sorry, what do you want me to do with that? Oh, you want me to play? No, I can't do that.
Don't know what that is.
I'm like, okay, well, that can go back. See, I actually don't, and it's really weird because a mate bought a DVD over the other day to watch because he's got.
And you're like, how are we gonna do this?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't own anything. So he actually drove back to his place, grabbed his laptop, then come back and plug it into the TV.
That's crazy. We're watching all these old movies. Like I got my daughter wanted to watch some more shows that had magic stuff in it, so I got her watching Charmed. And they show in the kitchen, and here's this little CRT television about this big sitting on the kitchen bench. Like, that's what we used to watch back in those days. I said, you've seen Back to the Future, right? She's like, yeah, you remember when Marty goes in there and the kids go, have you got a TV? And Marty McFly's got, yeah, we got 3 of them. What? 3 TVs? No, he's only kidding. Nobody's got 3 TVs, kids.
I know. I've actually still got a CRT. One of the, what do they call the, they were portables, I guess. They were the little 12-inch ones that had the rabbit ears built in. They had the little handle on top of them. You could pick them up and carry them around. Yeah, well, I think was it a GE or something? No, National. My
first little TV was a black and white Princess TV.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They're really popular for VZers. Apparently, people with VZ200 computers would hook them up. One of our other friends in the VZ group had it. But the problem is that because it's black and white and you're playing a game that's got 4 colours, 4 colours. The blue and the red. The blue and the red looked a lot the same, so it was difficult. They were pretty close to the same shade of grey.
Well, then when they blended the blue and the red and they got like a black or a grey out of it, you're in all sorts of trouble. But it's fascinating, you know, like you watch, like Dad's still got a CRT. He's still got a...
Yeah, mine has. He bought this huge CRT. He thought it was fantastic. And now I got this LCD 50-inch thing over there. And it's like, oh man, I couldn't go back to CRT. I reckon I got my hernia all those years ago from carrying around CRT monitors at work and for friends and myself.
Rear projection TVs.
Too much.
The old rear projections. But yeah, Dad's still got a CRT, and it's not National, and it's got really good colour still, like the tone and stuff in that.
Yep.
But man, I'll tell you what, he's got Foxtel, and of course everything's broadcast in widescreen.
Yeah.
And even the menu bar on the bottom of the Foxtel's widescreen, so when you can only see half of what's on that menu bar.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's actually a really nice picture. I kind of miss it because the thing is with LCD, and I notice this now, like when you're tired, it very easily blurs.
Yeah,
you know,
I see the blurring all the time.
Yeah, whereas a CRT, because it's a bit of a softer tone, a bit of a softer picture.
You don't notice it.
You don't notice it as much. It still does it, but it blurs, but it blends. Whereas a CRT just there.
Yeah. I remember what Dad had Rank Arena.
Rank Arenas, they were cool.
Rank Arena colour TV. Had 2 channels back in my day, kids. 2 channels, A, B, C, and channel 7/8. Yeah, 7/8. And when it was a particular kind of day, we could vaguely, with a lot of static and black and white, pick up channel 9, which was channel 3 from Newcastle.
But see, the thing is,
hey, we can watch cartoons on the weekend. Oh my god!
That's it. But the thing was, you could get half a channel and still watch it.
Yeah.
These days, you can't.
All or nothing.
Like, yeah, we've still got an older, because we rent here, we've still got an older aerial on the roof. So, like getting channel 10 and stuff and SBS on windy days is impossible.
Yep.
You know, in the old days, you just get a bit of blurring or a bit of static or a bit of white noise or whatever in the picture. But these days, you just can't watch it.
No.
You know, there's a lot to be said for the older analog technology. It was much more robust.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, whether it was the old AM or sideband, you know, radios, whether it was, you know, that sort of, even the old like AM. Well, that's another thing with AM radio stations.
Yeah.
You can be out in the middle of nowhere and you can probably still pick something up.
Yeah, that's how I used to listen to, how I first listened to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy via radio it was on at 11 o'clock at night, so there was not much interference from vehicles and things. The wind was still. It was blowing 20 knots from the south. But just at that particular still kind of night, I could pick up this really faint signal from far away and listen to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio show. I still to this day don't know what station it was. Just one night I was just going through, because I had, my parents was good friends with a guy who worked at the local radio station as an announcer. And they had this old turntable, and it had a cassette radio and everything built into one set. And they upgraded everything at the station, so they're like, oh, do you guys want to have a turntable and radio? Mum and Dad like, oh, we don't want it. So I said, I'll have it. So I had, you know, you could stack up your multiple records on there, all the American top 40s that he gave us, so I could listen to them. That was great. And then the radio down the bottom, and one night I was just going through the stations because I was bored, and I was like, hang on, oh, that's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I can't believe I just came across that. Right, every Thursday night at 11 o'clock I have to remember if I can pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. I remember I used to live at over at Woodridge, and I had a AM/FM bedhead. Had the clock and everything built into the bedhead radio, and I could flick it onto AM and wind it right up to like 950 or something right at the end. It actually went slightly off the end of the scale, and once I went up the end, I was actually picking up the local taxi depot. All the pick up and drop offs.
You could have started Uber back then, dude.
I know, right?
You just listen, pick up at 12 Smith Street. Wheel turns up. Hi there. You want to lift to somewhere? Yep, hop in.
If I wasn't like
that'll be $100, thanks. Wow, it's kind of expensive today. Oh, you know, bloody tax and stuff. Drive off. The guy's like, hey, every time I try and turn up to somewhere, there's nobody there, and they keep on getting jobs. What's going on with this town?
That was the thing with AM. Like, that's it. Like, it is kind of weird. Like, a lot of the technology is great, but look at mobile phones now with GSM. They've got a huge amount of power pumping out of those transmitters, and the range is horrible. Back in the CDMA days, they were only running, I can't remember what it is, 100 watts or something, and they were covering, you know, 10 times the area that a digital covers.
Yeah. That's when they had to have those certified blue tick phones from Telstra for people in the country to show that they could pick up the signal when they were still out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, they were the crossover phones. But just before they got rid of it. The stupid part is the CDMA network still operates in this country, but it's only for military use.
Ah.
Yeah, it's not for civilian use. It's still there, and the reason the military use it is because of the coverage. Yeah.
We don't want a crappy NXG or 3G.
Like, something like 3/4 of the states is still on CDMA.
Yeah.
Or analog, as they call it, because the range is huge, and the speed is great. The downside, from what I can gather, and I don't know if this has since been corrected, but at least as of a couple of years ago, you couldn't do data and voice simultaneously. So if you were on the internet or sending an email or whatever, you would miss a call because it couldn't pick up the call. So I don't know if that's been fixed or not, but that was the only real limitation, and they
just I guess 2 separate devices, one for data and one for phone.
Well, that's it. With the prices they pay in the States, you could do that.
Yep.
Although the weird part about the States is they pay to receive. So if I call you, I pay to call you, but then you pay to answer.
Yeah.
So hang on a minute.
Reminds me of some friends who, in Sydney, they when the internet was first happening in the 90s, and they were signed up to this ISP that would charge you for data received. So if somebody emails you like 20 photos or something, you'd get charged for that data coming into your mailbox.
Okay.
So we'd be like, okay, who do we hate at this company? Let's email them a copy of netscape.zip. Fill up the email box and then get them charged out the nose for something. So everyone's like, don't email me anything, just a quick hello, or can we meet somewhere at some time, but don't email me anything because it's going to get charged onto my account. Like, you really have to get off that ISP because they're not good.
That wasn't that Telstra thing where you held it up to you go to the the payphone and pay for the punch the number in, then you hold your thing up to it and it receives the emails.
No. This was a normal ISP with a normal modem and everything.
These are the old Motorola bag phones.
Yep.
And wow, that's zoomed in quite essentially. Not really what I unzoom. No, unzoom. There we go.
Yep.
And I remember I had one of these, very similar to that. And the reception on that thing was absolutely ridiculous. Like, the range of it, you could go, because you had a little aerial you could plug into the back of it as well. And I remember, I don't think there was anywhere we went that we couldn't get signal. I mean, it was expensive. It was like, I don't know, $4 a minute or something.
Yep.
But when when you're a business and you're first starting out, and right at that time, if you had one of these, you had the advantage over everyone.
Yeah. Plus, you didn't have to have a separate salary for your secretary just to take phone calls for you.
Well, that was it. I mean, there were phones prior to that. There was actually, let's see if I can find it while we're talking. There was actually phones before, I guess, what they call the cell phone or the mobile phone, that were, I guess they were mobile phones, but they were the sort of car phones.
Yep. I remember reading with the first mobile phones that had to have a pull-out antenna, and there was a doctor who was saying there'd be a lot of people reporting to him for what he called antenna ear syndrome, because the phone would be on the bed at night with the antenna up. It'd ring at like 2 in the morning. Somebody pick it up and jam the aerial through their eardrum and burst it. Then they have to go to the doctor and get their ear fixed up.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds painful.
Yeah. Especially at 2 in the morning. Where are you going to find a doctor, man? You have to go down to hospital.
Well, back then you call them.
And then they started, even you would remember, having mobile phones that even had the Nokias, had a little aerial up on top.
Yeah.
Then somebody brings out one that had no aerial because it was in the back of the phone. It was like, oh my god, that's the coolest thing ever.
That's it. Yeah, so you can sort of see here, these are actually the original style car phones. They're literally a phone in a car.
Yep.
And they weren't wireless. You had to actually pull up to a point which kind of looked like a parking meter, and then you could actually what's the other picture? And then you could actually plug them in. And these ones here were a bit later on. These ones were
you have to dial it.
Yeah, they were a phone in the sense that like a CB was a phone.
Yep.
It would actually call a certain frequency. You would quite often, in cop shows and stuff, hear them talking about, get them on the phone, and that's how they do it through the two-way. They'd actually call the frequency back to the base, and then it would transmit over the phone line. But yeah, those original ones, though, mainly for people in limousines and things like that, and the rich people who couldn't do without communication.
Yep.
And they'd
had
just
too much money.
They'd drive up to a point, they'd plug their phone into the socket, talk to the operator, and get connected to wherever they need to get connected to. It was very much similar to the original ship-to-shore communications.
Yep.
The hard lines before they went to radio waves and stuff like that. It's fascinating. I mean, we're only talking 40 years.
Yep.
From having to go from plugging. Well, still, I guess technically we still have to plug our phone in all the time.
Yep. Especially the newer ones with so many services running in the background, it chews your battery out.
Well, I know. I've got the new Note 4.
Yep.
And because I've got the Note 3 and the Note 4, well, a Note 2, a Note 3, and a Note 4.
Yep.
I guess technically, but
it's always good to have backups.
Well, the Note 4 is actually going to be Sony's phone, because I've already cracked the screen on Note 3. I figure I might as well keep hanging on to it, and the Note 2 we've got starting to die. But the Note 4 actually has a slightly smaller battery than the Note 3, and so far, from what I can tell, it actually seems to last. Like, I'm coming home at the end of the day, I'm usually still over 80%.
Yeah, that's all right.
By the time I get home. On the Note 3, I was pushing 60%. On the Note 2, 40%.
Yeah.
So, and with the HTC Desire, which is what I think you've got my old phone, I was getting, I had to usually recharge it on the way home.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm only using, I haven't dropped off the amount of, I'm probably using it more now than I was, and particularly with data, I'm using a lot more mobile data now.
Yep.
And I'm using 20% of my, I'm still at 74% now.
Yeah. I think I lose a lot of battery when the phone is searching for a cell tower, because on the train lines here between stations, there's no signal at all. And even at some stations in Melbourne, there's no signal. You can stop at Southern Cross, can't check your mail, can't do anything. Stop at the next one. No. Footscray. No. I get home and I hop off the train and walked down and up to the car park, and by then the phone has finally got sick. I was on the train coming home the other morning, and I think it was Footscray or something. I sent a SMS to my dad, and it didn't actually find enough signal to send an SMS until I got off the train at my station, walked around, got to the car park, and it's like, oh, now I've got signal, I can send it. It's terrible down here.
Wow. Who are you with?
Telstar. I've messaged them on Twitter all the time, and they're like, oh no, I was just at Southern Cross like half an hour after you were complaining, and I had no problem. Like, yeah. Oh, it's probably your phone. No, it's not my phone, Telstra. It's definitely your network. It's really
we never
bad.
had a problem when we were down there.
No.
I mean, well, years
on the
ago
trains? It's okay in cities and in suburbs. If you're not on a train or something, you hop on the train. I don't know if they're Faraday cages or what.
Maybe. Well, when I used to live down there a few years ago, I was on the Vodafone. Yeah, I was on the Vodafone network down there, and it was immaculate signal. I never had a dropout anywhere.
Just alright everywhere else. It's just when you're on the train going through to work.
Yeah, I went like from Geelong to the other side of Melbourne. I never had a dropout. That was something that was going back a few years. That was going back 10 years, but that was on Vodafone. Maybe a different frequency, see? Maybe they were a different frequency.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that they, since I've been away, I know they've now put boosters in the tunnels. Like the underground part.
Not. In Sydney they have. You've got signal all the way through Sydney. Melbourne, as soon as you hit a tunnel on the city circle, there's nothing. Your phone's just completely dead until you come back out the other side. They're still thinking about doing it.
To do it.
Yeah, they're still talking about it. Hasn't happened.
They're going to do it 10 years ago.
It won't happen overnight, then it won't happen. Still waiting for that. As soon as I get, you're going into underground North Melbourne, Parliament, Flagstaff, all of that, not a drop of signal. I'm like, come on, they did this in Sydney, why can't you do it here?
Well, yeah. Then again, having said that, we've had tunnels up through Brisbane for years, like Clem 7 and that, and half the time you still can't get phone signal in those.
Yep.
You would think they've gone to the trouble of putting speed cameras in. You think they'd at least put
revenue first. Revenue
yeah,
first.
I know, right?
Shall we do some history stuff?
Do we have time?
I know, right? It's halfway through the show already. You can start off if you like.
Oh, can I just? Well, in that case, I better bring the page up.
I'll give you an easy first one.
Oh, no, this is full of hard names, isn't it? Alrighty.
Yeah,
so I told you.
Not
1847.
This one. There's a reason. Oh, you'll find it.
1847. About when you were born, I think.
Yeah.
Proud parents Samuel and Nancy welcomed their 7th and last child into the world, Thomas Edison, who would grow up to rip everybody off and make heaps of money for himself.
It seems to be a going trend on our show. Every week is a Thomas Edison show.
I'm not reading what it says there because that's just wrong.
I know, right?
None of that. There's 7 words at the end there, and not one of them's correct. Or maybe
something.
Yeah, according to this, he became on to be actually. That doesn't make any sense. How can you embody the word inventor given that the word inventor was around before he was? That actually is written wrong, but he was a great businessman, not an inventor. Anyway, next.
1879, Joseph Wilson Swan demonstrated the first practically usable incandescent filament electric light bulb to 700 people at the Literary and Philosophical Society of Newcastle upon Tyne.
Next one. It was made with a bamboo filament.
Yeah, cool.
If I remember my history, although I could be wrong.
Can you do the next one?
1895. French patent number 245032 was filed for...
Go.
I can't even read that.
That's why I got you to do the first one, because it's your turn.
Appareil
savant l'obtention et à la vision des épreuves chronophotographiques.
You know what I would have done?
The French language. Somebody help him, he spoke French.
You know what I would have done before I posted that? I would have gone to Google and I would have actually translated.
Yes, but I wanted to get you to pick that one to read.
Well, it doesn't help because
it's a difficult one for you.
I can't read the words at the start that aren't in French. So basically, in 1895, a combined motion picture and camera motion.
You can't even say English.
A motion picture camera and a projector was combined. So the start of the
And
silent
they had
film
little
era,
babies they love very much.
So basically, it was the start of the silent film industry.
Boys and girls, when a motion picture camera and a projector love each other very much and they hold hands for a while, out comes a cinematograph. Cinematography. 1897, Ferdinand Braun published a paper in the journal Annalen der Physik und Chemie describing his Braun tube, the first cathode ray oscilloscope which later paved the way for modern CRT.
Yeah, I was going to say that name sounded familiar. The Braun tube. Cathode. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Remember the other week we were talking about why the CRT was invented? I thought it was for the oscilloscope.
Yep, we said that.
Man, for someone who doesn't know much about history,
we just knew it was going to be in this week's show.
Yeah, we actually just read it last week.
Yeah, it hadn't been printed online, but we knew it was going to happen.
In 1918, the first completely successful tests of the wireless telephone from a moving train, obviously it wasn't conducted in Melbourne,
no.
Was conducted in the Delaware
Lackawanna,
that's got to be native Indian, and Western Railroad. Spoken messages were clearly heard 26 miles from Lounsbury to Birmingham, New York.
Binghamton. Is your microphone behind your mouth? Because you sound like you're in a bucket.
Yeah, sorry, I bumped it. So the wireless telephone, I'm assuming that works on the radio signal. Let me just have a quick look at that link, because if it was heard 26 mile away, it means it wasn't going through a repeater
that
channel.
was a very loud speaker, right? Half the population was deaf, and they could hear it 26 miles away.
That's like the Brown note, isn't it?
Yeah. No, he did Brown. He was on the previous one.
Oh, great. Have you followed that link by any chance?
No.
It takes you to a Google book cover. That's useful.
1924, the computing tabulating company, recording company, merged with a subsidiary and took the subsidiary's name, International Business Machines Corporation. It was later shortened to IBM.
The CTR company merged with IBM.
Yep.
The computer tabulator. Oh yeah, basically adding machines. Wireless telephony from New Washington to Honolulu. Mass power, wonderful feat. Distance of 4,900 miles. So it was actually...
Sometimes Mr. T just mumbles things to himself randomly.
Yeah, sorry, I was just reading up on that story. It's a really old...
dementia he's suffering from.
It's a really old newspaper clipping that was done back about then in 1915 actually, and it's a scan of a newspaper article from 1915, so it's actually quite hard to read. But from what I can gather, it was done wirelessly, like with radio waves, the way it seems. Yeah, radio telephonic is what it was called.
And you know all I hear? Radio Gaga, Radio Goo Goo,
Video killed the radio star. Oh dear. Bletchley Park. And if you don't know about Bletchley Park, do yourself a favour and read the Cryptonomicon. 99% of it's factual, and that's all you need to know.
Watch the new Cumberbund movie, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh damn it. Now another movie I've got to add to my list. Add that to the list as well. At Bletchley Park in Great Britain, the Colossus Mk I attacked its first Lorenz encrypted message. Enigma had been cracked, but Lorenz was tougher cipher used in communications between Hitler and his generals in World War II. So one thing about
that's fascinating.
The Germans were known for having a huge amount of codes. Colossus was the first sort of mechanical decipher. Wasn't necessarily the most successful, but obviously this is the Mark I, the first one. Ironically, the Enigma, which was the code that gave them a lot of grief, would actually ended up being easier to crack once they figured out the keying system for it. But I would love to have seen, like, they've recreated the Colossus. It's in a museum somewhere, but
make you think what would have happened if they didn't find that German sub that got bombed, which had an Enigma machine in it. And
yeah, where they found the machine and reverse engineered it. But I would love to have been in that room when they fired that thing up for the first time, and the entire, half of Great Britain just went into brownout while it was stuck the grid dry. Like, that would have been an amazing thing to watch.
1946, a few days after its first public demonstration, the first practical all-digital computer, ENIAC, was formally dedicated.
I've never heard of that one. First practical digital computer, so 1946. So that's just after the war. Okay, so that would have been the brainchild of one of the
electronic numerical integrator and computer. It was Turing complete, digital, and capable of being reprogrammed to solve a large class of numerical problems.
So it was basically a calculator, yeah. So that would have come as from probably part of the war effort originally. 1957, MIT introduced the Cryotron. That sounds like a movie. We can do that. Let's make that movie now.
The Cryotron. In a world with...
the first practical demonstration of superconductivity, wow, the words, invented by Dudley Allen Buck. A guy named Dudley invented superconductivity? Seriously?
It's like Dwayne Dibley.
The Cryotron paved the way for the integrated circuit which we use semiconductors. Ironically, superconductors is still more or less a pipe dream. This was 1957 they started talking about it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, did you ever see, what was that movie? Not in the Space. That one, they wore the helmet and the helmet went into their brain and they lived memories. I have to look that up.
Is this a bad dream of yours?
No. It was a movie. It came out about the same time as In the Space, which is why I get the two confused. Brainstorm, I think it was called. I'll look that up while you're reading the next story.
Just Google it. In 1958, scientists at Lincoln Laboratory at MIT bounced radar signals off the planet Venus, calling it the first measurement of interplanetary distances.
Okay. Interesting. 1983, there we go. Yeah, Brainstorm. Science fiction film. In Wood's final film appearance, who died during production. It's also second... film follows research team efforts in a perfect system that directly records sensory and emotional feelings of subject and the efforts of the company's management to exploit the device for military ends. But yeah, a lot of the movie is actually based on them actually making a semiconductor feasible.
Ah.
That's how this whole sort of thing comes about. But
sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's got these really trippy helmets that they wore for most of the movie. It's pretty intense, but yeah, it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it and you like the older sci-fi style movies, it really is worth watching. But yeah, it's you know, just for like scenes like this should be in it as well. You know, that makes it worth the watch as well. Oh, dang it. There we go. Things like that. What it is it lets you live, it lets you, like, somebody does it and you can see there that tape she's holding.
Yep.
So somebody goes through, they actually act it out and then they record onto that tape, and then when you play it back, it relives not only the visual input but the audio, the sensory, the whole lot.
You see the Flatliners movie?
Sort of, yeah.
They record people's sensations and then they can play it back. They want
to
play a guy who's dying. They've
just made a 4K master for it. This was recorded in 1981, mind you.
Another movie for Mr. T to watch.
No, I love it. I
mean, again in 4K.
Oh, yeah, well, I was just saying, yeah. It was originally shot in 65mm. The aspect ratio was originally 2.4:1, which was weird at the time because Panavision was 2.2, so it was slightly strange. It was like a 70mm instead of a 35mm. But they stepped it up they digitally enhanced it to VCR to make it, well, because yeah, they digitally enhanced it to stereo for VHS, and then they stepped it up to DVD, then they stepped it up to Blu-ray, and now they've just stepped up to 4K with 5.1 digital.
You'll love streaming that on your fast
So,
Australian internet. 4K
how an original film that's done at 24 megabits a second, which these days 24 megabits a second is what, maybe 640 by 480?
A lot of frame interpolating by the computer in between each frame.
I think so. I think they basically, they pretty much took a pixel and they just sort of added another pixel all around it.
They matrixed it like with the slow motion bullet time stuff. You take all the photos and then interpolate between them to make it smooth.
My only concern is actually the things, because there are some computer generated special effects and sequences and stuff in it. My concern is they actually are gonna kill that. Like, it's gonna be too obviously over enhanced.
Yeah.
Like the original Tron, if you watch that on Blu-ray, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's over the top. But if you like Christopher Walken, who doesn't? Check this movie out. It's good fun. Anyway, next. My turn in. What year are we up to?
I highlighted it for you, yep.
There we go. Jack Kilby of Texas Instruments filed a patent for miniaturized electronic circuits. The first patent for what we now call integrated circuits, or ICs, which is pretty much in everything these days. Good luck finding something that isn't. Yeah, I was going to say good luck finding something that doesn't have an integrated circuit. And even like simple things like quartz crystal watches have integrated circuits in them now. Like
they're taking over the world.
Pretty much. They're the things in Transformers that are just going to like all transform one day and turn into like this little bed bug sort of things.
Kill you while you sleep.
Great. Yeah, death by IC. Fantastic.
In 1969, the Boeing 747 jumbo jet took flight for the first time. It was the first wide-body plane ever produced.
And the last flight of the last plane's next month?
Something like that, yeah.
Somebody put it on Facebook. They're going to land at the first airport to have them in Australia. The last one flying is going to land there at 7:47.
Nice.
Ironically, and
AM or PM?
PM, I believe. So, but yeah. So I mean, there's none of those left in the air now. I mean, that's scary. They were the king of the skies for a lot of years. Well, it's 1969, 50 years. You know, yeah. Not anymore. 1971.
Great year. Woo! A lot of awesome people born that year.
Yeah, I don't know any of them. Apollo's 14S lunar module lifted off from the moon. Returned astronauts Alan Shepard and Edgar Michael to the command module. Shepard made extra history by becoming the first human to hit a golf ball on the moon, and it's probably still going.
Still going around. Like a record, baby, right round, round, round. 1971, 10 years after the SEC suggested automation could solve the problem of fragmentation in over-the-counter stocks, the National Association of Securities Dealers Automated Quotations, or NASDAQ index, began trading, the world's first electronic stock market.
Yeah, 1971. Wow, that's right. That was back in the day when they had the big room full of screens.
People with pens and paper writing everything down, going buy, 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 sell, sell, sell. Now they still do that.
Yeah, I was going to say absolutely nothing.
With an iPad instead.
The only industry in the world that's been around for 40 years and nothing's changed.
Now all the people buy their computer programs.
The only thing that's different now is all the windows are screwed shut.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing that's changed. In 1974, the US space probe Mariner 10 returned the first close-up images of Venus and became the first spacecraft to use a gravity assist from one planet to help it reach another. And ironically, today, NASA just came out with plans that'll allow basically a submarine to float through I think it was Saturn, to float through the atmosphere of Saturn like a submarine.
Ah. Didn't they get defunded and shut down yet? The government's still working on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there because they just come up with that. And then someone else I was reading in Facebook earlier has come up with a plan to basically give 10 people the opportunity to play their way to Mars, to live at Mars for the next however long.
One-way trip, kids.
Yeah, pretty much. It ain't no...
Your grandkids might come back, but not you.
I was going to say Virtuosity, but that's the wrong movie. Total Recall. So,
Get your ass to Mars!
Oh, have you seen, speaking of Arnie, have you seen Expendables 3?
No.
There's a scene about 3/4 of the way through that. They land the chopper on the roof, and Arnie comes running down through the top of the stairs. And he goes, "Get to the chopper!" It was hilarious. The movie's worth watching just for that.
Come with me if you want to live. 1978, after a particularly harsh January gave them plenty of time for programming, Ward Christensen and Randy Seuss completed the computerized bulletin board system, CBBS, in Chicago. It was the first BBS. And a harsh January over there means it was snowing lots and you couldn't go outside, right?
Yeah.
Because here it means you're sweltering and dying.
I know, it's
dehydration.
I was just trying to figure out why they called the computerized bulletin board system the bullet board system. They're actually technically two different things. The things we call the BBS isn't actually the CBBS, because the BBS was around long before that. It was actually a bulletin board that you would put things on. So they're kind of, it's like calling the PS1 the PSX. They're actually two entirely different things, but people call them the same thing anyway. 1989, the Department of Defense put the Navstar 2-1. Wait, what? Into orbit. The first of 24 satellites that would make up the global positioning system, which they then decided that, hey, this is too precise, let's nuke it a bit. So they did, and then the civilians went, oh no, we can figure out how to make it even more accurate. Then the army went, hey, how'd you do that? Can we have your technology, please? So, well done, America. You're on the ball again.
That's supposed to be, you know, it's like 6 or 7 years ago I was reading where they were going to throw up a bunch of more satellites and make it so incredibly accurate that you could pinpoint it to a very small distance of accuracy.
It's already like a meter.
Still not happening. They wanted to do even more precise here. I wonder if they probably wouldn't help.
Oh, there would be.
They probably wouldn't help Granddad from going the wrong way up the motorway.
No, I can guarantee you that the military has access to far more.
GPS said do a U-turn, so I did one. I don't know where all the other cars were coming from.
It told me I could drive from mainland to Morton Island. I don't know why I couldn't. You see the old guy on the freeway. The old guy gets a phone call. His wife goes, "Be careful! There's some lunatic driving the wrong way." And one person, there's 1,000 of them.
Oh, I love that one. 1995, the FBI, Flowers by Irene, arrested Kevin Mitnick on charges of wire fraud and breaking into the computer systems of several major corporations. Everybody remembers the Free Kevin website and slogans and stuff.
It was
mostly social engineering. It wasn't really hacking that much.
No,
rang up a bunch of people and said, "What's your password?" "It's ABC123. Thank you, I got into your system." Hacker! Oh my god!
Now, ironically, Hackers the movie came out 1995. It came out in 1995.
Same year.
So, and what was Zero Cool? Got arrested for hacking into computers. So
Crash Override.
Yeah.
And Acid Burn.
Zero Cool. Responsible for crashing whatever it was, 12,007 computers. Dude, I thought you were black.
I like the Matrix when he says, "Trinity, I thought you were a guy," because most guys do.
Yes. There's actually a really... I'm watching Elementary at the moment, which has actually got that dude in it from Hackers. He's actually Sherlock.
Yep.
And in the last episode, there was such a blatant throwback to Hackers that was hilarious. Apparently, I'm the only one who got it. But it was hilarious. I enjoyed it. Okay, 2001. Yes. Microsoft gave the public the first look at the new version of Windows called Windows XP.
Start me up.
Formerly codenamed Whistler. Because they couldn't call it Windows 2000 because they'd done that already.
Yeah. That was a funny thing. That year we went on a cruise for IRC addicts from our IRC channel on FNet. And we were on this boat cruising up and down Sydney Harbour. And they played Rolling Stones' Start Me Up. And all the geeks are like, no, we don't want to hear Microsoft Windows, no. Now all of us use it all the time, of course.
I actually went to the Melbourne launch of XP.
Is it like a midnight one, like WoW or something?
No. It was the previous day, actually. We all got advanced copies of it the week earlier. And some of us actually got laptops as well.
Ah, okay.
But there was about, I don't know.
Is that hardly normal?
No. From Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
It was actually held in the Royal Theatre. We all got advanced copies of XP to play with. I was one of the guys who got there. There was about 100 laptops or something they gave out. There was 300 people scheduled to turn up. I think only about 100 made it. So it was actually really good. But man, talk about putting on a spread. They had, like, you're supposed to get there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The thing wasn't until 8. The presentation wasn't until 8. They had Hollywood impersonators like Marilyn Monroe and actually she's anyone and Wonder Woman and Betty Boop and Jessica Rabbit. I'm sure there was guys there as well, but
just happened to notice any of them for some reason.
There was one, Bonnie and Clyde. I remember that because they come as a pair. But it was really great. They had out the front, like they were setting up the projectors and stuff. They had all that set up ready to go. They had a system out the front where they had an Intel system and an AMD system, and how they're talking about it was optimized for AMD at the time, for the actual AMD 850 architecture, and they had that all set up ready to go.
They had the multimedia extensions on the CPU.
Yeah, that's right. And it was actually quicker. Like you could compare the boot times, and at the time, the AMD was, visually 5 or 8 seconds quicker than the Intel.
Yep. And they were for a long time, right?
Yeah, they were. And then, so this went on. There was food. It was great. And then it got to about 8 o'clock, and we've all filed into the room, and the guy starting he's an American, full-on American accent and everything, and he's starting his spiel and talking about how it's great for Soho and stuff like that, and everyone's like, Soho? Because don't forget, this is 2001 and nobody knew what the hell Soho actually meant.
I remember when those came out, I'm like, what the hell is a Soho?
Yeah, I know. And anyway, got into like 2 minutes into the production, and the laptop crashed and blue screen. Just after he'd finished saying how they'd changed the crash handling and there was no more blue screens anymore. So that's funny, and got through and did that, and he's like, oh, there's hardware locks in here now, so if you change certain parts of hardware, it'll won't allow you to do things anymore and stuff like that. Yeah,
swap out 2 things and suddenly your computer won't boot. Great, thanks for that.
But if you swapped everything, it was fine.
There you go.
If you swapped, say, a video card and a memory stick, it'd lock you out. But if you swapped the whole system, it would boot.
Hello, I need the number for Microsoft.
So
somebody was asking me for that at work the other day for support, because there was this guy harassing him, and
really?
He asked me to trace the email, and I said it's coming from Yahoo. He's like, have you got a phone number for them? Man, I nearly had to put him on mute or hold and then just laugh my head off. Come back. Here's the thing, right? You want to ring Yahoo? That's a good one.
Actually, I'll tell you what, if somebody's interested, can they find me the phone number for Gumtree?
Yep.
Because Gumtree...
It's owned by eBay.
Well, it's owned by eBay, but it's a private entity with a registered business name, and under Australian law, all registered businesses are required to be contactable by phone.
Ah, all right.
However, they're not. So I really need to yell at them. So if someone can find me their phone number, that'd be fantastic.
You know where to email Will at the usual place? Complaints at...
That's it.
I hate Will at geeks.com.
You know that's going to be the most used email address now, right?
Yes. 2004, Mark Zuckerberg and a few others at Harvard launched... I like how they have a few others. Yeah. Nobody knows the story about who the few others are. I'll give you a clue. 2 of them look exactly like each other for no apparent reason. And winkle, wink, wink. And a few other guys at Harvard launched the Facebook, so Harvard students can look up and hook up with each other. It would eventually expand the service to the world and drop the.
Is that like the Napster?
the Napster.
Because he
I
fell
invented
asleep.
the Napster. This movie I was watching recently, and this guy was going off about that all the time. I invented Napster.
The Italian Job.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
For years, everyone's like, you got to watch it. Somebody actually gave me a copy of it like 5 years ago or whenever it came out. Never watched it, and I was like, okay, I've got Netflix, let's watch the damn thing. This is great.
Oh, really?
This is
Yeah,
great.
it's fantastic. Seth's just brilliant. And that's where Handsome Rob come from.
Yep.
And now every time I see him in a movie, he's just Handsome Rob. It doesn't matter what movie he's in, he's just Handsome Rob. Well, even The Expendables, he's Handsome Rob.
Yeah. I'll give you the last one.
Alrighty. In 2005, this is a bit recent for an old guy, but anyway, I'll let you off. The domain, here we go. The domain name youtube.com was registered. It would eventually become the dominant place to share videos on the internet, and apparently Google couldn't figure out Google videos, so they just bought them.
Yes. They tried so hard for ages, and they're like, nobody's coming to our site, let's just buy the other one. I give up.
Although weirdly, I used to use Google videos all the time.
Yeah.
I found it quite useful, but no.
You didn't have to use your real name back then, son.
No, that's right, it didn't matter.
YouTube was founded by Chad Hurley, Steve Chan, and Jawed Karim, who are all early employees of PayPal. Hurley had studied design at India University of Pennsylvania, and Chen and Karim studied computer science together at University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. According to the story that has often been repeated in the media, Hurley and Chen developed the idea for YouTube during the early months of 2005 after they'd experienced difficulty sharing videos that had been shot at a dinner party at Chen's apartment in San Francisco. Karim did not attend the party and denied that it occurred, but Chen commented that the idea that YouTube was founded after a dinner party was probably very strengthened by marketing ideas around creating a story that was very digestible. Karim said the inspiration for YouTube first came from Janet Jackson's role in the 2004 Super Bowl incident when her breast was exposed during her performance, and later from the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Karim could not easily find video clips of either event online, which led to the idea of creating a video sharing site so he could see Janet Jackson's nipple. Basically, that was the whole idea for the invention of YouTube.
Pretty much.
And that kind of thing is also the decisions were made to pick VHS and Blu-ray because of naked movies.
Exactly. That's right.
If it hadn't been supported by them, then they wouldn't have had it. Hurley and Chen said the original idea for YouTube was a video version of an online dating service and had been influenced by the website Hot or Not. In November 2006, it was bought by Google for $1.65 billion US. YouTube now operates as one of Google's subsidiaries. The story of the YouTubes. Well, 2005 is still nearly 10 years ago, dude. That's old.
This is true.
You talk to my daughter, she'll say that's old.
That's it. And the very first video ever put up on YouTube is still there. Basically, he's saying that the pretty much direct quote, the marvelous thing about elephants is they have a very large trunk. That's pretty much the entirety of that video, which honestly isn't really all that different to like things you see these days.
Everybody else's videos.
It's been up since 23rd of April 2005.
How many views?
And 18 mil.
18 million. Still can't beat out
Which
Psy.
is-
Style.
Well, so many more have, like, here's one that was put up. Here we go. When was this one put up? Let's see. This one was put up 6 months ago. 24 million.
Wow, nice.
So, comparatively speaking, it really has
a few
very
more
few
people on the internet and using YouTube these days than back then.
Well, yeah, but it's
Just
quite
still
weird.
not watching that one.
There you go. Old Spice. The original Old Spice commercial, you know.
Look at me, I'm on a horse.
Yeah, that one. 50 million views.
My horse is amazing.
That's different. That's probably also got 50 million views, but that's a different video. But the funny thing is, and what's interesting is, as you say, the early employees of PayPal. Well, okay, they sold YouTube, you know, for 1.6 bill. They sold PayPal twice, remember?
Yep.
Because they sold it to Microsoft, and then to eBay. Sorry, they sold to eBay for however many millions of dollars it was. they sold it for. They sold it to someone else first. I have to look the story up. I can't remember. It wasn't a lot of money, but the person who bought it ended up not using it and basically said, "Here, you want it back," and then eBay
happened
bought
with
it.
Skype too.
Oh, that was Skype. Yeah.
eBay bought Skype, and then they're like, "Now you can talk to the person you're buying stuff from," and people are like,
"Well,
no,
it
no,
wasn't
I'm not."
that. They bought Skype, but they didn't buy the intellectual property rights for the program.
Yep.
So all they had bought for the however many hundreds of millions of dollars they paid was the right to say they owned Skype.
Yep.
They didn't have the right to the programming or to the use case. And then Skype went, "Hey, we'll give you 10 mil. Can we have it back?" And everybody went,
"Okay.
Well, I guess so."
Yeah. Skype was in 2003, so that predates YouTube even.
Yeah, well, I remember using that in one form or another. I mean, I guess when Skype came out, it was almost...
eBay acquired Skype for
MSN?
$2.6 billion in 2005, and in 2009, Andreessen Horowitz and the Pension Plan Investment Board of Canada announced the acquisition of 65% of Skype for $1.9 billion from eBay, valuing the business at $2.75. It was later acquired by Microsoft for $8.5 billion.
So they basically made best part of $12 billion out of an idea.
Nice. And they also invented Kazaa.
Oh yeah.
Remember Kazaa?
I do.
There's some old technology for you.
Well, what's funny is I'm actually using Trillian at the moment.
Yep.
Trillian was originally back in the day when MSN Messenger and ICQ was a thing, and it would actually let you log into multiple accounts at the same time and display them all.
Initial release 1st of July 2000.
Oh, there you go. So I'm still using it, and the reason I use it now is I have multiple Gmail accounts, and it's the easiest way to monitor all my Gmail accounts because it just loads them all up in the sidebar. And actually, if I bring it across onto this screen, I can even show you. Oh no, I can. Oh yeah, I can. And you can see that it just has, different accounts on there. It's got all the different contacts. You can configure it, and you just hover over it. It tells you what new emails you've got. You can double click it and it loads it up. But it's more than just that. Like if you configure it, you can see it does accounts. So it does, wow, where are they all? They're all in it. So chat activities, Trillian account, in there somewhere. I can't even remember where it is. Add new account. There we go. AOL, Bonjour, Google Talk, ICQ, IRC, Jabber, VZ, Windows Live Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, Facebook, Foursquare, LinkedIn, Twitter, plus your IMAP and pop emails as well. So it's yeah.
Version 0.50 was available on July 1, 2000. Was designed to be an IRC client.
Yeah.
The release was deemed too buggy and was immediately pulled off a shelf and replaced by version 0.51 on the same day, which had a simple connection manager and skinned Windows.
My favourite one, and it's still around and still easy and still simple, mIRC.
Still going.
Still going.
Can you click on his nose and make it go squeak squeak? And you put it running? I used to do that.
It's
and
still
his cat was in there somewhere too.
Over 40 million downloads. It's, yeah. When did they release that? 7.38 was released.
1995 was the first one.
Well, it's just been, it was only a couple months ago. November 27th, 2014 was the last update. So, yeah, it's, what's the first one they've got listed? 2000. So mIRC 6.1. I remember when that came out. That was huge. It was a whole new redesign. What's the earliest one they've actually got in here?
591 was the final one to support 16-bit Windows. 635 is the last to support 95, NT4, 98, and ME.
Yeah.
And you'll be happy to know the current version supports Windows 2000 and later. Just in case you got Windows 2000.
But what's funny is you read here, mIRC 4.52, released July 6, 1996, now comes in separate 16 and 32-bit.
Yep. I remember having to write download to 32 to get better use out of it.
Remember when we hit the 850 meg hard drive buffer? The hard limit?
Yeah.
And it's like, I've got a one gig drive, what do I do?
I remember friends who used to copy applications via IRC using mIRC and DCC the file to each other, and it had resume. So as soon as they both log on in the afternoon, they'd start transferring the files because they had like 5 megs of files to do through 28.8 modems.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them disconnects, so the next day they were both on, they started up again and eventually got the files through.
That's why we used to use 1.4 meg chunks for 2 reasons. One is that was the size of a floppy drive at the time, but it was also the amount of data we could transfer in a 2-hour session over the uni network before it kicked us off, because it would reset the connection every 2 hours. So if you logged on, when you logged on, you had 2 hours before it would log you off again. And we found that in about an hour and 45, we could get 1.4 meg down. So we that's why we broke. Like, I remember when we were distributing Quake.
Yep.
In 1.4 meg chunks. Like that was ridiculous.
I had an IRC bot running one time with a few things on it. You know, it was the most downloaded program I had on there. eSheep.exe. The little sheep that run around your screen. Thousands of downloads of that. Yep. Other stuff I had nobody cared about. It was just eSheep.
There was eSheep and
there's a Nico cat.
Oh, he's still around too.
Mouse cursor around.
And the Christmas lights one that used to run the string of lights around your screen.
Oh, yep. Things.
And what was the other one? Oh, what was that, Buddy? Oh, that thing that used to store all your passwords. I think it was called Buddy.
Yep.
I can't remember now. But here we go. Yeah, this is your eSheep. It's still a thing. You can still get your eSheep. Wikipedia. You can. Oh, okay, you can actually. There you go. Download. Let's download sheep, eh?
Yeah.
This can't go wrong on a live show. It's a zip file. This should be great. eSheep. Run.
And that's it for Mr. T this week. He appears to have disconnected.
Right? Apparently you can't run it from a zip file. That's alright. Let's put it there. Run as administrator. What?
You need 64-bit version of the program.
Fine. Compatibility. Run as Windows 95. Okay.
Good luck. Can you trick it? No.
Dang it. I want my sheep. It ain't going to let me do it either. Run.
Did they have a 64-bit of the app? Version of the app?
Oh, I doubt it.
Oh.
Ain't going to happen. Oh, well.
Worth a try.
Yeah. I wonder if they do. I doubt they do.
Anyway, thanks for listening and watching another episode of the Old Fart Geeks podcast. Make sure you subscribe in iTunes or your other favourite podcast application. You can also watch our show at YouTube at youtube.com/oldfartgeeks. That's me and him. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube so you'll keep up to date with our shows.
Flying Toasters, that's the other one I was trying to think of.
Screensaver.
That's it. You can follow us on Twitter. Our accounts are at Warlock, WAULOK, and Mr. Tompkinson, MRTOMKINSON. And our show's account is Old Fart Geeks. Music for the show is provided by Free Music Archive. Don't forget to check out obsidianloft.com. And thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Bye.